Just give me the tiniest sunglasses you have. Wait. I worry what you just heard was give me a tiny pair of sunglasses, but what I said was give me the tiniest sunglasses you have.
That's how you get ants.
The year was 1999, and Will Smith had already transitioned into movies with strong roles and strong reviews with Bad Boys, Independence Day, Enemy of the State, and Men in Black. He was a box office draw, a powerhouse, a name synonymous with charm, charisma, and those people who get the little dollar signs in their eyes like cartoon characters, you know? Until it all came crashing down. That's right, today we go after the first and perhaps biggest misstep in Will Smith's career and see if we can find anything nice to say about Wild Wild West. Loosely adapted from a 1960s TV show, The Wild Wild West, Barry Sonnenfeld decided he wanted to dive into the steampunk genre. With Will Smith and a $170 million budget, how could he go wrong? Smith had a formula, and that formula was to be the charming, smooth-talking half of a buddy cop odd couple, and the sum of that formula was cha-ching. That was the idea anyway. The result was a film nominated for 8 Razzies, including Worst Actor, Worst Supporting Actor, Worst Screen Couple, Worst Original Song, Worst Screenplay, Worst Director, and Worst Picture. It took home 5 of those. Well, Robert Conrad took home 3 of them when he apparently showed up to express his objections to the film. Robert Conrad played Jim West in the original 60s TV show, but didn't have anything to do with the movie, so it doesn't really seem fair that he should be able to take home any awards. I couldn't find anything on the nature of his objections, so glean from that info what you like. The Will Smith song Wild Wild West won for the worst original song, and because it heavily sampled I Wish, we dragged poor Stevie Wonder into this as if he had anything to do with it. Leave Stevie alone. Then again, he did appear in the music video, so I guess he didn't mind having his name on this. Additionally, with this song, Will Smith clearly predicted Wikipedia's rise to prominence. You can't disprove Nostra Will Smith. The film starts with a dude in a metal collar running through a field saying something about warning the president in a vaguely German accent. We're given a title card telling us it's 1869. He's pursued by a giant spinning saw blade with a spider on it, which decapitates him, and we see a cartoonish Ted Levine with a miniaturized ear trumpet come to retrieve the blade. Ever since he played Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs, he's sort of a forever villain. He plays Bloodbath McGrath, a former Confederate general. So I guess we should get this out of the way. The time frame of this movie is smack dab in the Reconstruction era. Will Smith plays Jim West, who was an escaped slave at some point before the Civil War, but is now an officer in the U.S. Army. He was supposed to meet up with his family in a town called New Liberty. However, the town and all its occupants were massacred by McGrath. You will hear shouts of the South rising again and what all. In fact, the main conflict comes from a guy who has created super weapons in order to conquer the U.S. and split it back into its pre-purchased and settled pieces. He is doing it in the name of losing everything, including a laundry list of body parts, to the South's war effort. There are overt portrayals of racism, but I'm not entirely sure Lovelace was on the side of the South. He trades some disgusting insults with West, but at the same time is portrayed primarily as an agent of chaos. He was a weapons inventor and dealer. Do they really have a side, or was Lovelace just an amoral opportunist who ended up on the wrong side? Who can say where the road goes? Our first glimpse of West is him naked in a water tower about to bone some chick while he's on the stakeout for McGrath's men. The water tower starts to collapse and Smith ends up confronting the men in the buff, and then just a cowboy hat. A few references to his endowment, as one does. At the same time, Kevin Kline's Artemis Gordon is disguised as a female prostitute attempting to get information out of McGrath. Gordon and West get in each other's way and foil each other's missions. Later, West and Gordon are summoned to the White House. Gordon disguises himself as Ulysses Grant, a disguise that West sees through almost immediately. They are told by the president to work together to get to the bottom of whatever McGrath is up to. A group of scientists have gone missing, and McGrath is the only lead. Main means of conveyance is a tricked-out train that's full of gadgets and whatnot. The best part of this movie is the steampunk elements. I mean, maybe not the giant spider, but We'll get there. Instead of a horse, Gordon rides a steam-powered penny-farthing bicycle. He makes bulletproof vests in his spare time. He's got a spring-loaded pen and paper. Every gadget that is used is set up in some form or another. As far as setup and payoff are concerned, Wild Wild West does it better than any DC movie ever has. They track McGrath to a party in New Orleans. Gordon suggests they go in disguise. West just wants to walk in, so he does. They hook up with Rita, played by Selma Hayek, who is looking for her scientist father. At the party, Lovelace reveals himself to be alive. West uncovers the next location for them to pursue the scientist, and is then almost lynched, which he nearly talks himself out of. West steals a horse in order to scout out the new location. He pulls up to find the place a massacre of McGrath's men. Lovelace used one of his inventions to wipe out his allies. Gordon and Rita arrive moments later. They pull a dying McGrath out of the water, who tells them that the massacre at New Liberty was Lovelace, not him. Back on the train, Gordon inexpertly flirts with Rita. They pursue Lovelace only to have the tables flipped on them, with Gordon and West ending up in the cornfield with the magnetic collars on. The spinning saw is released, and they run around the field to avoid it. They end up jumping into each other's arms and plunging into a mud-filled crevasse to escape. The pair bond, at least enough to work together to get to the president, who is in Utah, to drive the Golden Spike into the Transcontinental Railroad. They find Lovelace's weapons complex in Spider Canyon just in time to see him crank up the old girl to go kidnap himself a president. As one does. So, here it is, the giant spider. The much maligned mechanized monstrosity sent to intimidate President Grant into surrendering the country. To be fair, Lovelace has had a spider theme through the whole movie. The flag of his organization is a black and white version of the Confederate flag with a spider silhouette in the middle. His base is in Spider Canyon. Look, I don't want to be that guy, but come on, who wasn't expecting a giant spider? Lovelace knows his brand and sticks to it. What else would you have Gordon and West go after? A giant beam of light in the sky? Maybe Lovelace read somewhere that Grant was arachnophobic. I don't know. The giant spider is ridiculous and absurd, but it fits perfectly into the crazy nonsense steampunk world of Wild Wild West. To his credit, Grant refuses to surrender. He gets kidnapped. West escapes when he is shot and presumed dead, but was wearing one of those bulletproof vests. I actually really like the fact that the villain that shot West didn't give him any time to try to talk his way out of it. She shot him in the heart and watched him fall off the spider. I mean, what more could you want from a loyal minion? West disguises himself as a woman to get access to Lovelace. There's a bunch of different fight scenes, including a guy with a big metal spike in his head that I'm going to assume was a Phineas Gage reference. What? You don't know Phineas Gage? I'll link it to something. It's pretty fascinating. Lovelace goes mano a mano with West, revealing animatronic legs for himself. As Lovelace is about to crush West, Gordon, who has a gun with one bullet, shoots a hole in the hydraulics. There's an imprint of the metal foot on West's face, so whoever was behind it was pushing pretty hard. The giant spider is about to dive off a cliff as Gordon figures out how to drive it. Lovelace's steam-powered chair rolls out, taking West with it. West decides to sacrifice himself and take Lovelace with him rather than save them both. He grabs onto the swinging dead body at the last minute. Grant finishes hammering in the Golden Spike and makes Gordon and West the first members of the Secret Service, which is really under the purview of the Department of the Treasury and is, of course, the most outrageous historical inaccuracy of this entire film. Gordon and West ride off into the sunset on the giant spider. I guess I get it. Wild Wild West is silly, but not necessarily in the way you want it to be. It's action-filled, but again, not necessarily in the way you want it to be. But I'm going to drop some unfortunate knowledge on you. Don't ever bet on steampunk movies. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, The Golden Compass, Around the World in 80 Days, Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow, Van Helsing, Sucker Punch, all coming soon to an Anything Nice to Say near you. We don't like these movies for some reason. The things we do like are integrated into steampunk as a stylistic choice. We like the costumes, we like the gadgets, but when it comes to putting everything together on screen, it just falls flat. If you're a diehard fan of the steampunk genre, you can't miss Wild Wild West. The steampunk elements are the greatest part, and Will Smith is charming as hell. And looks pretty hot as a cowboy. To hell with it. Bring on Wild Wild West 2. Let's see what happens. That's all for this episode of Anything Nice to Say. Don't talk to spiders and never be ashamed to like what you like. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Head over to Patreon to subscribe for exclusive content, early releases, and to get your name in the credits. My book, Live Like Legends, is available now wherever books are sold. If you have a movie about which you would like me to find anything nice to say, drop it in the comments.